Hey there friends, and welcome to Laugh Napkin. My name is Frank, and today's video is a special one. The first story will be one of the most satisfying I Don't Work Your Lady stories I think I've ever read. And after that, we're diving into a brand new I Don't Work Here based spin-off subreddit called r/youarefired, which is basically people getting nightmare coworkers fired in the most epic ways. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Okay, so this one is going to be a little different than what most of you are used to. I work on the West Coast running my own business as a cybersecurity consultant. I'm 35 and have been in this business a very long time. I have around 10 employees, however the one we just hired is a special case. Very special. She's one of the dumbest smart people I know, and her attitude says she graduated with honors from an Ivy League school, and that means she owns you. Since I'm the owner of the business, I leave most duties to my senior security engineers, so she has probably only seen me a few times in the 3 months she's worked for me. Let's meet the cast. Karen, me, manager friend. I was out shopping for supplies for the office, and I decided I was going to stop by my local Sam's Club for some lunch. I used to work there when I was in my early 20s, and I was friends with the now manager of the specific store while we were cashiers together. It's worth mentioning that since I was headed to the office after this, I was dressed in my formal business attire. I promise it comes into play later. The Sam's Club Cafe has some of the best food in my opinion for the price that they offer. I finish my food and have a chat with manager friend. Manager friend leaves to go do manager things, and I go to throw away my paper plate that was provided to me for my pizza when I start hearing screaming coming from the cafe counter, which isn't even 10 feet away. I look over to see what's happening. Karen, what do you mean you're out of frozen yogurt? Do you idiots ever keep anything stocked? This was a common thing to happen in the summertime since everyone loves their frozen yogurt. Karen looks at me and rushes over. Manager, you're going to do something about this. I want that horrible person fired right this instant. He was rude and called me a bee for asking for frozen yogurt. Me, I don't work. She cuts me off before I could continue, but it was then I started to realize she looked familiar. Karen, I don't care. You will fire this little brat right now or I'm contacting corporate over this. After that, it clicked. She's my employee. Me, I can't do anything for you because I don't work here. I thought about telling her that I was her boss, but I wanted to see where this goes. Karen jabs her finger into my chest as hard as she can and twists. Listen, you beatard. I don't know who you think I am, but I'm a league smarter than you. The only reason you work here is because you're a reject who couldn't finish college. I almost busted out laughing at that comment, but I composed myself. At this point, the actual manager friend, comes running over and asks what's wrong. Before I could explain, Karen steps in. Karen, he, pointing at me, assaulted me and verbally abused me while refusing to fire this employee. The girl behind the cafe counter, who at this point looks visibly horrified. And as his boss, you better fire him right this instant. If you don't, I'll have all your jobs, you insignificant clowns. Yes, she really said that. She called us clowns. How ironic. Me, pretty much fed up now, I revealed my real identity. Karen, I'm insert name here, the owner of insert company name here, the consultancy you work for. We just hired you a couple of months ago, right? I showed her my badge with title, name, and picture on it. Her face turned whiter than snow. Manager friend, I saw her jabbing her finger into you. The cops are already on their way. I didn't think it was possible, but her face turned even whiter than it was before. She looked like she was about to hurl. Anyway, the cops show up, look at the security footage, and without even asking me anything, they handcuffed her and take her away. They talked to me and asked me if I wanted to press charges, and I said yes. Court date pending. And I later found out from manager friend that she yanked the cafe girl by the collar, slapped her, and pushed her back before I had seen her yelling. I asked the cops if I could have a word with her before they drove her away, since she's my employee. They said yes, and I walked up to her sitting in the cop car, hands cuffed behind her back. She's about to speak, but I held my finger up in front of her face and said, "For someone who graduated with honors at insert Ivy League school here, you're pretty dumb. I was never impressed with your work, and now that you're here, I'll doubt you'll ever get a job in the security field again. Don't bother showing up for work anymore." I had to add that last part because I knew she'd be out on bail. Her husband is pretty wealthy too. I never thought I'd run into a Karen that actually worked for me. So, this is an awesome story. Karen got arrested and fired. I want to believe this story is true so bad, so don't go ruining it in the comment section telling me how fake this story is. Anyways, on to the next one. When I was 18 or 19, I was a huge spineless pushover due to anxiety, so I self-medicated by getting high basically 24/7. I worked at one of those chain pharmacy stores that you can find on every street corner in every town. I went to work stoned most days, but I kicked booty at my job anyway. I became the manager of the photo lab eventually, because I was the only one who knew how to work on and or fix the big machines. This was back when people developed film still. This was right after the major US recession, and corporate was a money-saving monster. They were incredibly strict with man hours, and we basically ran the store on a skeleton crew. It was almost impossible to keep a store manager because the expectations put on them from corporate ran everyone off. Eventually, we got this one chick who managed to stay for a much longer time. At first, when she didn't get pissed off at corporate constantly, I figured it was because she was new. Over time, she slowly became truly horrific, and I knew she was corporate's perfect evil little imp. I don't remember all the terrible things she would do to the employees, but I remember absolutely hating her. She would demand we show up 15 minutes before our shift, or write us up for being late, but she wouldn't let us clock in for it. She would make one person run the register, put back all the abandoned items, and sweep, but write us up if we didn't greet every customer that walked in the door. She was corporate's perfect pawn. Every so often, I would get paid less than I was anticipating, but because I was always scheduled between 32 and 40 hours, I thought maybe I did the math wrong. However, the more often it happened, the more I started to get suspicious. I got paid more than the other cashiers because of my position with the photo lab, and I was the only other guaranteed full-time employee besides her. From her perspective, the store put a lot of money into me. If I made less, she could work other people more or something. Whatever the logic, she stood to benefit if I worked fewer hours. So I never said a word to her, but I started taking pictures of when I clocked in and out. I kept perfect track for a few months. I went and developed my own pictures and put them into a photo album. I also kept all of my pay stubs. It became apparent that the time reported on my pay stub and the time I had documented were not the same, and I was being screwed out of multiple hours every paycheck at that point. So one day, I put on my sweetest, most non-confrontational voice and approached her. I told her that I suspected that the time clock machines were broken, or perhaps a mistake was made with my time card. She told me that was impossible because no one else was having problems. Also, she's the only one who could enter times in when finalizing time cards. She checked it herself, and there weren't any problems. She wasn't very smart. I told her that before she came into work that day, I thought the time punch machines were broken, so I called corporate for her already. She looked pissed at that point and snapped at me. "What the hell makes you think they're broken, OP? They're fine." Still faking innocence and ignorance, I reached in my purse and pulled out the photo album. I said, "Well, I have documentation that proves when I clocked in and out for the past several months, but the times aren't matching up with my pay stubs. I repeatedly have hours missing, so I called corporate for you to get the machines fixed. Corporate is going to be mad when they come here tomorrow and nothing is broken. I wonder what went wrong." She went ghost white, but I didn't tell her I never really called corporate. I lied through my teeth because I wanted to scare her into leaving my time card alone. I didn't realize the true enormity of the illegality of it all, but she did. She left her keys with me that night, And that, my friends, is the first story from r/youarefired. I think it's a pretty rock solid story, and I dig this subreddit so far. One more story from here next, but I want your thoughts on this subreddit in the comment section below. On to the next one. I helped a buddy one summer with an in-town moving company his grandfather had started. I was in between school years at university and needed some extra money. So I thought, sure, hang out with my buddy all day and move old ladies across town? Sounds like a sweet gig. And for the most part, it was. We rarely moved anything heavy. We traveled a lot, which I enjoyed immensely. We sang along with musicals, met cool people, and saw the insides of some cool houses. All for $15 an hour plus tips. The only problem was the uncle. He ran the business for grandfather, who was in rehab for a busted hip, and probably stayed there for a bit. Uncle was an old school, the boss can do whatever he wants type. He stayed in the office all day and answered calls. He also did the scheduling, and that was it. Pretty cushy, which is okay because he was an absolute dinosaur, and we were way happier with him in the office. But he was an abominable armchair quarterback, constantly critiquing our work, techniques, methods, and customer relations. It was barely tolerable most of the time, but every so often, it was just unbearable. And it got worse once he got a warehouse. He started doing short-term storage contracts. He'd tape out a square in the floor and make us pack people's stuff in the square. No other organization except a single paper with a last name taped somewhere in the stack. We tried to give him some ideas for better organization, but he just lashed out and got really ugly. Things got bad, and we both agreed to make an anonymous complaint to the labor department. We honestly hoped some accountability would help Uncle get his things on the up and up. We weren't trying to really cause trouble. Cue the fateful day. We were unloading a player piano into the warehouse. Fortunately, it had been housed in a building with a loading dock, so getting it into the truck was a cakewalk. But now we had to get this several hundred-pound behemoth out of the truck, and it was too heavy for our truck's powered liftgates. We had called to let Uncle know about the problem, but he took it about as well as he took his blood pressure medication. After 5 minutes of screaming, he hung up on us. We roll up to the warehouse, and there's a car and truck we don't recognize out front. As we pull up, a man gets out of the car and a woman out of the truck. We back up to the bay 4 and hop out. Let's meet the cast. Me, buddy, uncle, lady, man. Me. Hiya, folks. What can we do for you? Lady. This gentleman was here first. Man. Thanks. My mom has got some things stored here, I believe. She's passed, and I need to get some pictures for my siblings. Buddy. Oh, is Uncle not here? Lady. We heard someone inside, but the door's locked and no one answered when we knocked. Buddy. So sorry about that. Let me go get him. Buddy opened the bay door and went to get Uncle. Me. And how can we help you, ma'am? Lady. Oh, I'm following up on a report I received. Me. Oh, okay. Well then. At this point, Uncle emerges, spitting angry. Uncle. Can nobody in the damn town read? Office closed from noon to 4. You want to see something? Fine. What's your last name? Man. Insert really common last name here. Uncle. Jesus Christ. You know how many gosh darn generic names I've gotten here? Guess we'd better get started. Get in here. I'll be back for you in a bit, missy. He stumps off towards the bay door. Me. Uncle, what do you want us to do about the piano? It's too big for the liftgates. Uncle. I want it to come off the truck, you miserable waste of air. The hell you think I pay you to do? Me. We can't get it out safely. We don't have any equipment. Uncle. Then pull it out by hand, and if I'm lucky, you'll end your life, and I can stop paying you to effing sass me. Lady. Sir, that's enough. If they can't... Uncle. Can it? You don't pay them. I do. Lady. Sir, my name is redacted, and I'm with... Uncle. I don't care if you're with the effing government. Sass me one more damn time and I'll throw your crap out of here myself. He stalked off and Buddy immediately apologizes. I mean, the poor guy is just wrecked. You can see it. Embarrassed, angry, horrified, the works. Lady, I'm with the Department of Labor. I think you should call it a day. I never got all the details, but apparently things went very poorly for Uncle. There was talk that he ended up getting sued, and then arrested for something, but I haven't followed up on it, and frankly, I don't care enough about the bastard to water time in it. Grandfather was appalled to find out what was going on, and very quickly completed with the Labor Department's requests. Buddy now runs the operation and does a good job, and the player piano ended up in a museum after 2 months in the back of a truck because there was no good way to get it out. And that's how you get rid of a crappy boss right there. Okay guys, that's the end of this video. If you enjoyed it, then please show your support by hitting that like button and leaving a comment below. And if you're new here, hit that subscribe button and bell for new fresh videos daily. See you guys tomorrow.